It's very important to always remember that the 5'10" 285-pound orange McCankles taco tits said about Ghislaine Maxwell. He said, I wish her well. He refuses to call out her sex crimes towards children. And there's photographic evidence to support this. It's weird how we can't find any pictures of Ghislaine Maxwell with Carter, Obama, Biden, or Harris. Always Trump at the epicenter of this shit show. But in checking in with MAGA women, you guys, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been going through some things, okay? And she's starting to crack the case on some stuff. She's cracking the case a little bit about Gaza and what's going on there. And she's also cracking the case on the MAGA view and lens in which they view women. Brian Tyler Cohen put out the following tweet. Marjorie Taylor Greene says she's starting to think that the GOP is anti-women and anti-worker. She says, there's women in our party that are really sick and tired of the way men treat Republican women. The GOP has turned its back on the workers and just regular Americans. And, you know, these things are so obvious. We giggle at this, but there is, to me, all of these things signal a warning sign to corporate Dems because she is starting to show clarity on Gaza. She's starting to show clarity that political parties have abandoned workers. These should be core Democratic base values, anti-war, and we are for workers' rights. And when you see Marjorie Taylor Greene come out and trying to run point in the base on this, she's thinking beyond Trump because Trump's old as shit. He's like 85 million years old. His ankles are, as wide as the Mississippi Delta, right? And he, is twitching and dementia's falling in. She is playing long-term here, surprisingly, but that's what she's doing.
Yes, she is. And I've kind of been worried about myself the last few weeks because I look at Marjorie Taylor Greene and her statements, I agree with them. Some of them I truly agree with, like, we have got to put workers in a better position and stop enriching the oligarchy. We've got to acknowledge women as equals and not the patriarchy. Now, to say all that, I think if Donald Trump patted Marjorie Taylor Greene on the head and said, oh, come back into the fold, I want to do this, I think she'd turn on all this in a heartbeat. But I am with you. Democrats are the ones that need to be taking this lead on this message, not Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, and Democrats have historically for years and years and years. My problem is that this is what Trump did. He knew he took an economic populist message. We have an economic populist politician right now who just won a primary in New York, Zoran Mamdani, and you see a lot of corporate Dems failing to come out and robustly support the will of the Democratic voters in New York. And I think it is a huge, huge error. And I worry that the Marjorie Taylor Greenes that are planning this economic populism into their Twitter feeds right now. I mean, I doubt she's ever going to vote on any of this stuff, but she's starting to outwardly kind of say this stuff. I'm worrisome. It leaves a vacuum for the people who are mid to low informed voters, low information voters. When you just read that by itself and you don't know about this Jewish space lasers and all this other anti-Semitic crazy ass shit that this woman says, it leaves an opening there. And the Democrats have to be very loud and vocal with no ambiguity. And I'm not really seeing that from leadership, not seeing it out of Jeffries. I don't know where Chuck Schumer is. I don't know what's going on with him. And that's a problem. That's a huge problem. All right, moving along, continuing to check in on MAGA women. Jeanine Pirro was voted by the Senate as U.S. Attorney. Pop this up. Internal Fox communications show that Pirro's executive producer, describing her as a, quote, reckless maniac who is, quote, nuts and who promotes, quote, conspiracy theories and, quote, should never be on live television. Perfect. She is the perfect candidate for Donald Trump. What we all have to realize, this is intentional. This is what authoritarians do. They do stuff like this and they flex about it. They flex about corruption openly. They try to normalize it. And Jeanine Pirro is a perfect fit for this morally depraved fascist movement. And I could sit here and go, oh my God, I can't believe he appointed her. Oh my God, she's a maniac. Well, we've all known that forever because incompetence and moral depravity trickles down. What we need to know about the MAGA movement now, and everybody needs to call out triple Trumpers in their lives. You're the party that opposes family. You're the party that opposes child safety. You're the party that is for moral depravity. You are the party that is for sexual depravity. You are the party that is anti-woman, anti-worker, anti-working class, and opposes the troops. And we need to start just pounding it and pounding it and pounding. And also, your leader is BFFs with a pedophile and is about to probably pardon another pedophile. And it just needs to be crystal clear across the board, because what MAGA wants us to do is take the bait on this Jeanine Pirro and go, oh my God, the Senate voted to support another nut. Well, of course they did. Right. I mean, I would be shocked if he actually promoted and the Senate voted for somebody who was qualified. That would shock me more than this Jeanine Pirro thing.
Absolutely. And you look at his appointees, like Jeanine Pirro, her number one qualification for this, other than being on Fox News, is that no matter what Donald Trump tells her to do and who he tells her to prosecute, regardless of evidence, she will do it. Just like Pam Bondi will, just like Kristi Noem. I mean, Pete Hegseth, go down the list. These people are not patriots because they do not care about the Constitution and law. What they care about is making their leader happy. And it is absolutely how it has looked from the jump. I used to just be, oh my gosh, like Pete Hegseth cannot run the military. He's incompetent. And now I'm like, that's why he's in there.
Yeah. Okay. And then single issue politician, genital obsessed psychopath Nancy Mace came out on Twitter this morning, and she's running for South Carolina governor.
A House Republican has drawn the ire of both Democrats and members of her own party.
She has a way of getting under their skin.
Representative Nancy Mace. Firebrand Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace.
She's a fighter. I know about that. She's a fighter.
She learned resilience early on. Mace became the first woman to graduate from South Carolina's famed military college.
You've taken a lot of abuse for standing up for the rights of women.
But what they forget is that, Laura, I'm the first woman to graduate from the Citadel. I will not be bullied into silence.
Nancy Mace scores a huge victory in her fight to keep biological men out of women's bathrooms.
We will be courageous. We will be resilient.
When she sets her sight on something, she's tough.
And we will be prepared to take on the challenges of this historic moment.
Okay, you guys, this is great news. What I want is the craziest of the crazy MAGAs running for big positions. Run for governor, run for Senate, run for House seats. Let's let these nuts run. And we have to just keep putting pressure on the Democrats that we have to rid themselves of these AIPAC donations so that we can go at these people guns blazing, because this is what Nancy Mace does in her spare time. Play this clip.
Favorite things to watch on YouTube these days are the court hearings where illegals are in court and ICE shows up to drag them out of court and deport them. I can think of nothing more American.
How gross is that? That's her porn. Is she's watching people that are going through the process as prescribed by law and they're getting arrested, and she watches it in her spare time.
But you know what? That is a representative of tens of millions of Americans that feel that way.
That's
true.
They
like it. They are not bothered by the construction of inhumane concentration camps and of people being sent there. Over the weekend, my family and I, we went to a Mexican restaurant, and I looked around, and my son Roman said to me, God, looks like there's a lot of MAGA people in here. And I thought, you know what? MAGA people shouldn't be able to eat at Mexican restaurants, at Chinese restaurants. Go eat at Cracker Barrel. That's all you get. You get your fat asses and you go eat at Cracker Barrel, because the horror that Latino Americans feel right now, driving to work, driving home, going to their court hearings where it's about their status, their legal status. They're trying to follow all of the rules. And so a lot of them are still here and hiding. And guess what? They're not doing anymore. They're not paying taxes anymore. And it's been a lie perpetuated by MAGA that they're using Medicare and all of these things, which, by the way, if you're a big Christian and you want poor people to receive health care, you should be for that. But, I have found, Pumps, and I know you have too, I have found the bigger the Christian, the bigger the piece of shit that they are.
Well, and I keep thinking that the next shoe will drop when they're talking about alligators eating people and no due process and American citizens being sent to ICE detention facilities. And then it's, a month later before they're released. I made the mistake of bringing that argument up to a MAGA Christian. And the response was, well, it doesn't affect me, so I don't care. And that's really sad.
Yeah.
But that is the prevailing view.
It is. And I believe if you would have probed further, they like it. It's somewhat Pavlovian for them. There's probably a little bit of salivating, thinking about taking away from people and getting more for themselves because they believe they are so much better than everybody else, when in actuality, they're like the worst. All right. And I just want to remind the white women in America, some that I spoke to when Trump came out during this last term, and they were trying to find daylight to justify voting for him. A couple of women said to me, well, he's really pro IVF. And he's going to pay for IVF. Well, Andrew Schultz of the Flagrant podcast is finding out that this was all a lie. And he says, you don't break your word breaks you. And the headline that Andrew Schultz is responding to is Trump promised to mandate IVF care. The White House says there's no plans to do so. Next slide. Andrew Schultz says, for anyone that is looking for financial assistance with IVF, especially now that @real Donald Trump flip-flopped once again on a campaign promise, please look into @BabyQuest Grants. It's a wonderful charity that they're working with at Flagrant Podcast. And I just want to keep flagging that these manosphere people, and we could do a whole podcast on, oh my God, they helped get him elected and they looked the other way. And they did all of those things. That's what they did. But at this stage in fascism, when we're just trying desperately to get to 2026, anybody that is criticizing him to the base, that has the ear of the base, let them cook. Let them cook. We can get sanctimonious on Joe Rogan and on Schultz and all of these people another day. But if they're willing to cook in front of the MAGA base right now and start the cannibalization, let them cook. All right, that's all we have for today. Please support our podcast by buying our book, Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches. And if you're not subscribed yet, for God's sake, subscribe. We want to get to 1 million subs because we really want that trophy. All right, we'll see y'all later.